If you're watching this video right now, know this: you are a very special person. God has brought you here for a reason. You're not here by accident. Everything you endured, every tear, every struggle, every moment that felt too heavy to bear, it all prepared you for what's coming. God sees your heart. He sees your patience, and He sees your faith. What you went through was not in vain. Every trial, every obstacle, every season of waiting, it qualified you for the incredible blessings that are about to enter your life. Get ready, because a divine shift is coming. Something so powerful, so good, so unexpected, it will leave you in awe. Your life is about to change. The struggles that once held you down are becoming the foundation for your greatest season yet. Before we continue, I want you to take a moment, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and help us reach 20,000 subscribers. Every share, every like, every subscription helps spread God's message of hope and transformation. And if this word is reaching your spirit, type 66 in the comments as a declaration of faith, a sign that you are ready to receive all that God has prepared for you. Remember, God says what you endured qualified you for what's coming. Your breakthrough is near. Your blessing is on its way. Your life is about to shift in a way you never imagined. There are moments in life when we walk through seasons that don't make sense. Seasons where the weight feels too heavy, the nights feel too long, and the prayers feel unanswered. You wonder, God, why am I going through this? Why is this so hard? Why does the blessing seem so far away? But today I want to remind you, God never wastes what you endure. Not a tear, not a disappointment, not a season of stretching. Everything you walked through was qualifying you for the very thing God is bringing into your life. You may think you barely survived, but heaven saw a warrior rising up. You didn't break. That was your qualification. You didn't quit. That was your qualification. You didn't walk away. That was your qualification. What you endured is the very evidence that you are ready for what God is about to release. You see, people often look at the blessing, the success, the favor, and assume it came easily. But what God is preparing you for, your next level, your next season, your next breakthrough, requires strength, maturity, and depth. And those things are not built on the mountaintops. They are forged in the valleys. It was your endurance that heaven approved. Maybe you faced betrayal. Not everyone could stay with you. People you trusted walked away. People you loved misunderstood you. People you supported didn't return the kindness. But hear this, God didn't let them walk away to hurt you. He let them walk away to prepare you. Their absence was your training ground. Their silence taught you to hear God's voice louder. Their rejection pushed you toward your purpose. What felt like loss was actually qualification. Or maybe you faced financial battles. You had to make decisions you didn't want to make. You had to stretch what didn't seem stretchable. But that season taught you discipline, trust, and dependence on God, not on people, not on systems, not on opportunities. And now, when God increases you, when He opens doors, brings promotions, releases abundance, you'll know it was Him. That endurance you showed, it qualified you. Some of you endured emotional storms that almost drowned you. Life hit you so hard you didn't know how you were still standing, but you kept going, you kept believing, you kept waking up every morning, even when hope felt thin. That determination was noticed by heaven. God says, what you endured in private, I will reward publicly. Every tear you cried was watering the soil of your future. Every lonely night was building resilience. Every unanswered question was strengthening your faith. You weren't breaking, you were becoming. God has been shaping you, preparing you, maturing you, stabilizing you for what's about to enter your life. You didn't just endure anything. You endured exactly what was needed to carry the blessing God is sending. See, big blessings require big shoulders. Big callings require big character. Big favor requires big faith. And God allowed certain battles because He knew what He placed inside of you would not fail under pressure. When the enemy came against you, God wasn't worried. He knew you were stronger than you thought. He knew your spirit could withstand the storm. He knew your destiny was bigger than the attack. That battle wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to prove you. Heaven already knew the outcome. You would rise. Let me tell you something powerful. God never qualifies you before the test. He qualifies you by the test. The breaking qualified you. The waiting qualified you. The loneliness qualified you. The stretching qualified you. The silence qualified you. The storm qualified you. And now God says, you are ready for what's coming. You're stepping into a season where what fought you before will fear you now. You're stepping into a season where what you lost will be replaced with more than you imagined. You're stepping into a season where your endurance becomes your elevation. You didn't come this far to stay stuck. You didn't survive all that just to settle. No, what you endured is the signature, the stamp, the confirmation that you are ready for the blessing. This is the season where God is about to take the very areas that hurt you and turn them into the areas that help you. The same place where you cried will be the place where you rejoice. The same hands that once were empty will now overflow. The same heart that was once broken will now expand with peace and purpose. God is about to show you why the warfare was so intense. The enemy only fights what is valuable. If your battles were great, it's because your calling is greater. If the struggle was deep, it's because the blessing is deeper. If the night was long, it's because your sunrise will be brighter. So lift your head, straighten your shoulders. You didn't walk through fire for nothing. You didn't face storms for empty reasons. What you endured qualified you for what's ahead. God has seen every step, every scar, every sacrifice. And He's saying, get ready. Something is coming that matches the weight of what you survived. Your endurance was not the end. It was the beginning of a new, powerful chapter. And what's coming is going to make you say, it was all worth it. There are seasons in your life when you look around and wonder why things had to be so difficult. You question why the road was so long, why the nights felt so heavy, and why you had to walk through situations that felt unfair, uncomfortable, and overwhelming. But what you may not realize is that while you were enduring those challenges, God was working behind the scenes. He wasn't ignoring you. He wasn't punishing you. He wasn't letting you struggle for no reason. He was qualifying you in secret. He was shaping you in ways you couldn't see. He was preparing you for a level of blessing, influence, and purpose that required a deeper strength than you had before. Sometimes God hides the training because if you knew how important it was, you might resist it. You might try to run from it, avoid it, or pray it away. But God knows that endurance is not built on comfort. Endurance grows in the places where you feel stretched, where you feel tested, where you feel like you have nothing left to give. And each time you stayed faithful, even when your faith was shaking, each time you kept walking even with heavy feet, each time you whispered a prayer, even with a tired heart, heaven took notice. God saw the perseverance. He saw the courage in your quiet suffering. He saw the strength in your moments of weakness. And He said, there is more inside of you. You didn't realize that every battle was developing something in you. Character, wisdom, resilience, depth. These aren't things you learn when life is easy. These aren't qualities built during smooth days and peaceful nights. They are forged in the fire. They grow in the struggle. And while other people saw the outside of what you were going through, only God saw the inside. Only He knew what it was doing to your spirit. Only He understood how those experiences were qualifying you for the incredible things He has already planned. There were times you prayed for the trial to end, but God knew the trial was building endurance. There were nights you cried out for a breakthrough, but God knew the waiting was molding you into someone who could carry the blessing once it arrived. You asked why certain people walked away, but God used that loneliness to teach you how to stand on your own. You questioned why opportunities closed, but God used those closed doors to refine your heart, your intentions, your purpose. In moments when it felt like nothing was happening, the truth is that everything was happening. God does His best work in hidden seasons. He builds champions in the dark. He develops leaders in obscurity. He strengthens warriors when no one is watching. And you were one of them. You were being qualified for things greater than what you see now. You were being trusted with battles most people wouldn't survive. You kept going when others would have quit. You kept believing when others would have given up. That's what qualified you. You may not give yourself credit for it, but every hardship shaped you. Every disappointment taught you something. Every closed chapter refined you. And instead of becoming bitter, you became stronger. Instead of collapsing under the pressure, you learned how to breathe through it. Instead of walking away, you stayed. That says something about you. It says you are chosen. It says you are being prepared. It says God saw something in you that He could use. Many people want the blessing, but not everyone wants the preparation. Many want the victory, but few want the battle. Many want the platform, but few want the pruning. But God trusted you with the part no one sees. He trusted you with the preparation. He trusted you with the endurance. He trusted you with the storms because He knew the storm would not break you. It would build you. And He knew that one day you would look back and understand why the journey was necessary. Think about the moments you thought were the end of you. Think about the nights you wiped your tears alone. Think about the days you carried burdens you didn't speak about. Those moments were not wasted. Those tears were not wasted. Those prayers were not wasted. They were all part of God's silent cue, yellification process. You were being strengthened in secret so you could be blessed in public. You were being stretched in private so you could stand in places that require spiritual muscle. You were being humbled so when God elevates you, your heart will stay grounded and grateful. God doesn't promote the unprepared. He doesn't release blessings into unready hands. Before He trusts you with abundance, He watches how you handle lack. Before He gives you influence, He watches how you handle obscurity. Before He gives you more, He watches how you handle less. And in all those secret moments where you kept going, kept believing, kept hoping, you qualified. That's why you survived things that were meant to break you. That's why you didn't lose your mind in seasons of pressure. That's why you kept your heart soft when betrayal tried to harden it. That's why you held on to your faith when everything around you tried to steal it. You thought you were just enduring, but God was watching you rise. You thought the battle was punishment, but heaven saw it as preparation. You thought you were just getting through it, but God was qualifying you for something greater. The beauty of God's process is that He prepares you before He reveals you. He refines you before He rewards you. He strengthens you before He shifts you. And now you are standing at the edge of a new chapter. Not because life got easier, but because you didn't give up when life was hard. Your endurance is your evidence. It is the proof that you are ready for what's next. What you walk through has positioned you for blessings that require spiritual maturity, emotional stability, and a strong foundation. So don't look at your past with regret. Don't look at your challenges with bitterness. Don't look at your struggles as wasted years. Everything had purpose. Everything had meaning. Everything had weight. And now God saying, you're ready. What you endured in secret qualified you for what I'm about to release. Your endurance was never wasted. It was preparation for a future overflowing with favor, restoration, and divine promotion. The season you're stepping into will make everything you endured worth it. There are moments in your life when you look back and realize that you've survived things that should have broken you. You walked through battles that were bigger than your strength, deeper than your understanding, and heavier than your heart was prepared for. Yet somehow you made it through. Somehow you found the strength to stand up again. Somehow you discovered a resilience within yourself that you didn't even know existed. And that survival was never accidental. Every battle you survived became evidence, undeniable proof that you were chosen for greater things. Life has a way of putting weight on the shoulders of those who are destined for more. The ones called to carry purpose often face opposition early. The ones chosen to lead often face battles in seasons when they feel unseen. The ones God trusts with His greatest assignments are often the ones who endured the hardest warfare. Those battles weren't designed to destroy you. They were designed to reveal you. They were meant to show you and show heaven what you're truly made of. When you faced heartbreak and still managed to love, that was evidence. When you carried disappointment but refused to lose hope, that was evidence. When you stood in seasons of confusion and still believed God had a plan, that was evidence. Every battle you overcame didn't just shape who you are. It testified to the greatness inside you. See, not everyone survives the same battles. Not everyone stands after the same storms. Not everyone carries the same capacity. Some people crumble under pressure, but you didn't. Some people wall, get away from God because life got hard, but you didn't. Some people allowed bitterness to grow where pain lived, but you didn't. And that is why your survival is so powerful. Your endurance, your strength, your ability to push through, all of it is proof that you are chosen. Think about the seasons when you felt like the fight was too intense. Think about the moments you questioned whether you could make it one more day. You may have cried, you may have trembled, you may have even taken a few steps backward, but you didn't quit. Something inside you refused to give up. That something was your purpose. That something was God's hand on your life. That something was the calling that keeps pulling you forward, even when your emotions try to pull you back. Every time the enemy tried to crush you and failed, it exposed your spiritual strength. It exposed the anointing on your life. It exposed the greatness that the enemy recognized long before you did. You wonder why the battles were so intense? It's because the enemy knew what was inside of you. He knew what you would become if you made it through. He knew the impact you would carry. And he fought you because he feared you, but he didn't win. You're still here. You still have breath. You still have purpose. And for every battle that tried and failed to destroy you, God added another layer of evidence that you are not ordinary. You are chosen. You may not realize it, but every victory, both small and large, has elevated you. Not just physically, but spiritually, emotionally, mentally. You've matured in ways others haven't. You've developed wisdom that only comes from walking through fire and coming out refined. You've gained discernment that only comes from experiencing betrayal and learning to trust God deeper. You've learned compassion because you've tasted pain. You've learned strength because you've carried burdens. You learned faith because you had no other choice. The person you are today is not who you used to be. You've grown, you've stretched, you've evolved, and that growth didn't come from easy days. It came from battles, hard battles, lonely battles, quiet battles, the ones you didn't talk about, the ones you faced with trembling hands, the ones that pushed you to the edge and required everything inside you to survive. Those battles changed you. They didn't weaken you. They woke you up, and God saw all of it. He saw your tears, your determination, your fight. He watched you take steps forward when everything in your life was pushing you backward. He watched you hold on to faith when everything around you felt hopeless. He watched you rise again and again, and with every battle, God whispered, "Look at my child, chosen, strong, called for something greater." Nothing you went through was pointless. Nothing you fought was wasted. Everything served as training for the next level God is bringing you into. You weren't fighting random battles. You were being prepared for divine assignments. You were not being punished. You were being positioned. The reason the fight was intense is because the future is significant. The reason the warfare was heavy is because the blessing is weighty. The reason the journey was painful is because the purpose is powerful. God only allows warriors to go through certain battles. And the fact that you went through them is proof that God sees you as a warrior. You might not wear armor, but you walked through seasons wearing courage. You might not hold a sword, but you held on to faith when everything tried to pull it from your hands. You might not have an audience, but heaven watched as you kept standing. And now what you survived is speaking for you. It's testifying for you. It's qualifying you. It's opening doors that endurance unlocked. It's pulling you into seasons that suffering prepared you for. What you survived has become your passport to greater levels of purpose, influence, blessing, and favor. Every battle you survived is a chapter of your testimony. It's evidence that God's hand is on your life. It's evidence that you're growing into someone stronger, wiser, and more spiritually grounded. It's evidence that God is shaping you into who you were always meant to be. And now God is saying, because you survived, you are ready for the blessing, ready for the opportunity, ready for the breakthrough, ready for the destiny that has been waiting for you. You didn't come out of those battles empty-handed. You came out with strength, authority, endurance, and a deeper connection with God. And these things are the very reasons you are chosen for greater things. Your battles weren't the end of you. They were evidence of who you truly are. And the greatness ahead of you will match the battles behind you. There are seasons in your life when it feels like everything is moving too slowly. You pray for progress, but nothing changes. You work hard, but the breakthrough doesn't arrive. You wait and wait and wait some more, wondering why God is taking so long. It can feel frustrating. It can feel confusing. It can even make you question whether God heard your prayers at all. But what you may not realize is that those delays were never denials. They were divine preparations. God wasn't ignoring you. He was shaping your character. He was strengthening the parts of you that needed maturity. He was preparing you for what He already planned to give you. God is a God of timing. He knows when you're ready, and He knows when you're not. He knows what your future requires and what your character needs to sustain it. Sometimes the blessing is ready, but you aren't. So God uses delays not to punish you, but to prepare you. He allows seasons of waiting because the waiting is what develops the strength to hold what He has promised. Think about a seed planted in the ground. On the surface, nothing seems to be happening. Days pass, weeks pass, and still there is no sign of growth. But beneath the soil, the seed is breaking open, rooting itself and building a foundation strong enough to sustain what will eventually grow. If the seed sprouted the moment it was planted, it would collapse. It wouldn't be ready. The foundation wouldn't hold. In the same way, God used your delays to root you, anchor you, and build the foundation of who you are becoming. What you thought was God being silent was really God being strategic. He didn't let you get the job right away because He was shaping your work ethic. He didn't let the relationship happen yet because He was building your emotional maturity. He didn't open certain doors because He knew your character needed strengthening before stepping into rooms with greater responsibility. You saw waiting, God saw preparation. There were times when you prayed passionately, asking God to move quicker. You pleaded for answers, for direction, for opportunities. But God knew that if He answered too soon, you wouldn't be ready. You would have stepped into a blessing without the character to manage it. You would have received something beautiful without the maturity to protect it. And God loves you too much to let you arrive unprepared. Delayed doesn't mean forgotten. Delayed doesn't mean denied. Delayed means God is working on you while He prepares what's coming for you. Maybe you waited while watching other people succeed. You saw their breakthroughs, their promotions, their miracles, and you wondered, God, what about me? But comparison blinds you to what God is doing inside you. He may not have been changing your situation yet, but He was changing you. He was teaching you patience, humility, and perseverance. He was strengthening your faith so that your foundation would be unshakable when the blessing arrives. Sometimes God delays you to protect you. You think you're ready, but He sees the full picture. He sees the challenges attached to the blessing you desire. He sees the responsibilities that come with the opportunity. He knows the weight of what you're praying for, and He prepares you so the weight doesn't crush you. Delays don't limit your destiny. They build the character necessary to sustain it. There were days when you wanted to give up because the wait was too long. You felt invisible, like life was passing you by. But even in those quiet moments, God was molding you. He was teaching you discipline when you felt tired. He was teaching you trust when you couldn't see a way forward. He was pruning things from your life, attitudes, habits, people that could sabotage the blessing you prayed for. Delays were never wasted time. They were the sculpting of your soul. And isn't it true that after waiting, you began to see changes in yourself? You were more patient. You became more grateful. You learned to appreciate small beginnings. You became wiser about who you let into your life. You learned to hear God more clearly. You learned to rely on Him instead of relying on your own strength. All of that happened because God allowed you to stay in the waiting room a little longer. Character is not shaped in moments of success. It is shaped in seasons of delay. When everything comes easily, you don't learn much. You don't grow much. You don't stretch. But when things take time, when doors don't open immediately, when prayers take longer to be answered, that's when God forms the character. That can withstand the blessing. If you rush the process, you damage the outcome. But when you submit to God's timing, you come out ready for something greater than you imagined. Think of the person you were when the delay started and the person you are now. You didn't stay the same. You grew. You matured. You deepened your faith. You found strength in areas you didn't know existed. You discovered resilience you never expected. God used every moment of waiting to build you, refine you, and strengthen you. You're wiser now. You're more grounded now. You're more aligned with purpose now. Those delays were not mistakes, they were milestones, markers of your spiritual growth, evidence of your inner transformation, proof that God was preparing you for something your previous self wasn't ready to handle. And now you stand on the edge of a new season, not because time finally caught up with your prayers, but because God finished preparing your character. You are no longer the person who lacked patience. You are no longer the person who doubted every setback. You are no longer the person who panicked when God was silent. You have been shaped, molded, strengthened, and matured. When the blessing comes, and it will, you'll carry it with gratitude, humility, and responsibility. You'll appreciate the very things you used to rush. You'll see how necessary the waiting was. You'll understand why God didn't answer sooner. You'll realize that your character was being shaped for a destiny bigger than your timeline. God hasn't forgotten your prayers. He hasn't overlooked your dreams. He hasn't denied your desires. He was preparing you all along. What looked like delays were divine preparations. And when God prepares you, no delay is ever wasted and no promise is ever lost. When the time is right, the blessing will come and you will be ready to receive it. There are seasons in your life when you feel the weight of pressure pressing down from every direction. You feel stretched, overwhelmed, and pushed beyond what you ever imagined you could handle. You wonder why everything suddenly feels so heavy, why every step feels challenging, and why God allowed so many things to press against you at once. But what you didn't realize in those moments is that God was not trying to crush you. He was strengthening what He placed inside you. Pressure was not punishment, it was preparation. It was God developing the potential, the gifts, the resilience, and the faith He had already planted within you. Nothing grows without pressure. A seed cannot break open without pressure from the soil. Gold cannot be refined without pressure from fire. Diamonds cannot be formed without pressure from deep beneath the earth. And your purpose cannot be revealed without pressure from the seasons you walk through. You were not being destroyed, you were being developed. God knew what He placed inside you was powerful, but He also knew it needed strengthening before it could be revealed. So He allowed pressure, not to break you, but to build you. There were moments when you felt like the weight was too much. You cried out, asking God to take the pressure away. You pleaded for relief, for rest, for peace. But even when the pressure didn't lift, you didn't collapse. You discovered strength in yourself that you never knew existed. You found endurance you didn't know you had. You tapped into faith that had been buried deep inside you. That is because under pressure, your true strength is revealed. Under pressure, what God planted inside you rises to the surface. Pressure pushed things out of you that comfort never could. It pushed out deeper prayer. It pushed out resilience. It pushed out maturity. It pushed you into trusting God when trusting yourself wasn't enough. It pushed you to grow spiritually in ways you never would have if life had been easy. You learned to stand firm, not because everything was perfect, but because you realized God was holding you up. You learned to lean on Him, not because you wanted to, but because the pressure gave you no other choice. Every time pressure increased, you discovered another layer of who you really are. And who you really are is someone God has been shaping since the beginning. He deposited greatness in your spirit. He placed purpose in your soul. He planted courage in your heart. But courage doesn't grow without opposition. Strength doesn't form without resistance. Faith doesn't deepen without uncertainty. God used pressure to activate what was inside. Think about the seasons when you felt like everything was closing in. When bills piled up, when relationships shifted, when opportunities dried up, when responsibilities increased, when emotions felt heavy. You wondered how you were going to make it. You wondered why you were the one who had to carry so much. But in those very moments, your character grew. You became wiser with finances. You learned to set boundaries in relationships. You discovered new skills. You found new ways to move forward, even when life pushed against you. The pressure created progress. Pressure also revealed what didn't belong in your life. It showed you who was truly for you and who wasn't. It separated temporary people from lifelong connections. It removed habits and mindsets that were holding you back. Under pressure, the unnecessary falls away, and the essential becomes clear. You discovered what truly mattered. You discovered what was worth fighting for. You discovered who you were called to be. And even though the pressure felt painful, it was also purposeful. God never allows pressure without intention. He knows the future He has prepared for you. He knows to be blessings coming your way. He knows the areas where you need strength, patience, discipline, and spiritual growth. So He uses pressure to build the foundation that will sustain your future. You might have prayed for God to make life easier, but instead, He made you stronger. You might have asked Him to remove the challenges, but instead, He removed your limitations. You might have begged Him to stop the storm, but instead, He taught you how to stand in it. That's because God's goal was never to make life easy. It was to make you equipped, and pressure is one of His greatest tools for equipping His children. The pressure you endured became proof of your capacity. You survived things you didn't think you could survive. You handled responsibilities you felt unprepared for. You kept standing when the enemy expected you to fall. The fact that you are still here, still breathing, still believing, still fighting is evidence that the pressure didn't break you. It built you. God knew you were stronger than you realized. He knew you were capable of carrying more than you thought. He knew that your purpose demanded a stronger version of you. So He developed that version through pressure. You are not the same person you were before. You think differently. You move differently. You pray differently. You trust differently. That growth didn't come during easy days. It came during pressured ones. The pressure also awakened your gifts. Some of your greatest abilities were revealed when life forced you out of your comfort zone. You discovered creativity when resources were limited. You became bolder when silence tried to quiet your voice. You learned leadership when circumstances demanded direction. Pressure didn't limit your gifts, it unlocked them. God placed greatness inside you, and pressure drew it out. Every challenge strengthened your spiritual muscles. Every difficulty expanded your faith. Every setback trained your endurance. Every trial sharpened your purpose. You didn't realize it, but God was shaping you into the person who could handle the blessings you prayed for. Now, when God opens new doors, when favor finds you, when opportunities come, you'll be ready. You'll carry wisdom instead of impulsiveness. You'll carry humility instead of pride. You'll carry strength instead of fear. You'll carry discernment instead of confusion. That is the result of pressure. So don't look back at those seasons with regret. Don't look at the pressure as something that broke you. See it for what it was, divine strengthening. God used what was difficult to develop what was powerful. He used what felt heavy to produce what is holy. He used what seemed overwhelming to shape what He already placed inside you. And now you stand stronger, wiser, and more prepared than ever before. The pressure didn't define you, it refined you. And the strength you carry today is the testimony of everything God brought out of you when life pressed the hardest. There are moments in life when the pain you walked through felt unbearable. You wondered why you had to experience certain losses, why you had to endure heartbreak, why you had to face betrayal, disappointment, and seasons that seemed to strip parts of your soul away. In those moments, the pain felt unfair. It felt unnecessary. It felt like it had no purpose. But now, with a little distance, you can begin to see something deeper. The pain you walked through didn't just wound you. It unlocked access to blessings that others cannot receive. It positioned you for a level of favor, wisdom, and spiritual authority you could never have gained without going through what you endured. Pain changes you. But when you walk through it with God, it doesn't just change you, it elevates you. It qualifies you for a higher dimension of grace, compassion, endurance, and purpose. It opens doors in the spiritual realm that comfort never will. You may not realize it yet, but some of the blessings coming your way are directly tied to the pain you survived. Some people never tap into deeper wisdom because they've never walked through experiences that require it. Some people never develop true compassion because they never face suffering themselves. Some people never access divine favor because their faith has never been tested in the fire. But you walked through things that stretched you, humbled you, and refined you. God saw that pain, and He is now turning it into access. The pain you endured unlocked spiritual insight. It taught you how to discern what is genuine and what is fake. It taught you how to read situations with wisdom, how to see beyond the surface, how to sense the intentions of people, and how to understand yourself on a deeper level. This level of discernment is a blessing many never receive because they've never endured the kind of battles that sharpen it. Your pain also unlocked compassion. There was a time when you didn't understand the struggles of others, but after walking through your own dark valleys, you became someone who cares more deeply, listens more attentively, speaks more gently, and loves more intentionally. God is going to use that compassion in powerful ways, ways that will bless lives, ways that will build connections, ways that will open doors. Compassion is a currency in heaven, and those who carry it are trusted with greater assignments. Your pain unlocked perseverance. You learned how to endure when everything around you seemed to fall apart. You learned how to trust God even when your heart was shattered. You learned how to pray when your voice trembled. You learned how to stand when your legs felt weak. That perseverance isn't common, not ever. Yon has it. And because you have it, God can trust you with blessings that require strength, resilience, and endurance. There are blessings that only come to those who can handle weight, heavy blessings, big blessings, life-changing blessings. And pain is often the training ground for carrying them. God couldn't bless you earlier because the blessing would have crushed the old version of you. But the pain you walked through built spiritual muscles. It built emotional maturity. It built mental resilience. It built strength you didn't even know you had. Now God can place things in your hands that others can't carry. Pain also unlocked humility. Before the struggle, you may have believed you could handle everything on your own, but after what you walked through, you learned that you need God more than anything else. You learn how to surrender. You learn how to let Him lead. Humility is what attracts God's favor. And now, because of what you endured, you carry a humility that heaven responds to. Your pain unlocked access to new levels of faith. It forced you to trust God in seasons where nothing made sense. When people walked away, when support fell apart, when answers didn't come, you still held on. You still prayed. You still believed. That kind of faith moves mountains. That kind of faith opens doors. That kind of faith calls blessings into existence. Not everyone has that kind of faith, but you do, because pain taught you how to stand when everything inside you wanted to fall. And now that you have walked through what others haven't, God has taken you into places others can't enter. There are blessings reserved for those who paid a price. There are opportunities reserved for those who sacrificed. There are breakthroughs reserved for those who held on in the valley. Your pain gave you access to a deeper intimacy with God. When you cried alone, He was there. And your heart was breaking, He held you together. When you were confused, He whispered peace into your spirit. These moments created a bond with God that many never experience. Some blessings come not because of what you've done, but because of how close you've become to Him. Pain pulled you into His presence until you learned His voice, His ways, His heart. That intimacy is a blessing beyond measure. Your pain also unlocked purpose. You have a story now. You have a testimony. You have insight, wisdom, and experiences that God will use to help others. Your life will become a light for people walking through the same darkness you survived. This is a blessing not everyone receives. God trusts those who've endured pain to carry powerful purpose. In heaven's eyes, pain is not wasted. Every tear, every sleepless night, every disappointment was adding something to you. You were growing in ways you didn't recognize. You were being shaped into someone who could handle big blessings, big opportunities, big influence, and now the season is shifting. What was once pain is becoming access. What was once suffering is becoming strength. What was once heartbreak is becoming wisdom. What was once loss is becoming upgrade. You paid a price, and heaven is rewarding it. There are blessings coming to you, blessings with your name on them, because you walked through pain that others did not. You trusted God in ways others haven't. You survived what others couldn't. And that survival unlocked doors that only endurance can open. You are stepping into a season where the pain behind you will match the blessing ahead of you. Everything you endured is about to be transformed into favor, opportunity, and divine promotion. The pain prepared you. The pain positioned you. The pain unlocked access for you. And now you are walking into blessings born from the battles you survived. There are moments in life when your tears feel like they're falling into empty ground. You cry in the dark. You pray with a trembling voice. You show up day after day, even though your heart feels heavy. You wonder if God sees you, if He hears you, if anything you're pouring out is making a difference. But what you don't realize in those painful seasons is that every tear you shed was watering something in the unseen. God never allowed a single tear to fall without purpose. He never let a single cry go unnoticed. Nothing you endured was wasted, and nothing you released in those tear-filled nights was forgotten. Heaven collected each tear because they served as seeds that have been sown into the soil of your destiny, seeds that are now breaking open underground. You couldn't see it, but those tears were softening the ground for the harvest you were about to step into. Sometimes God lets us walk through seasons where we feel misunderstood, overlooked, or stretched beyond what seems fair, because He knows that pressure will produce something inside of us that comfort cannot. Your tears were not a sign of weakness. They were a sign that something powerful was being planted. You cried when you wanted to be strong. You kept going when you wanted to quit. And you trusted God even when you didn't understand Him. That is the kind of faith heaven responds to. That is the kind of faith that moves mountains. That is the kind of faith that brings harvest that no enemy can stop. There were nights when you asked, God, why is this happening? Why does it hurt so much? Why am I fighting battles no one sees? And God whispered back, because I'm preparing you for something big. Your tears were not in vain. They were watering new strength, new wisdom, new discernment, new anointing. You didn't even realize it. But every time you cried and still kept walking, something was growing inside you. Every time you wiped your tears and still believed, your harvest grew closer. Every time you praised God with a broken heart, you planted something heaven will honor. People may have thought you were crying because you were weak, but heaven knew you were crying because something was breaking open. Something was shifting. Something was developing underneath the surface. Tears are powerful. God designed them to cleanse, release, heal, and water. Your tears were speaking when your voice couldn't. Your tears were praying when your faith felt small. Your tears were aligning heaven with earth, calling forth the promises God already wrote over your life. You thought you were weeping over disappointment, but you were watering destiny. You thought you were crying over loss, but you were nourishing the future God prepared for you. You thought your tears came from heartbreak, but they were actually making room for the blessings that are on their way. God allowed you to cry not because He abandoned you, but because He was preparing you. Those tears softened the hardened places in your heart so you could receive what He promised without pride, without fear, and without forgetting where you came from. And here's the truth. Harvests don't show up during the season of tears. They show up after. You're stepping into that after season. This is the season where what you prayed for starts to manifest. This is the season where what was buried starts to grow. This is the season where what you thought was dead begins to rise again. Every tear watered something that is now ready to bloom. You cried in private, but you're about to rejoice in public. You sowed with tears, but you will reap with joy. You didn't just survive the storm, you cultivated a harvest in the middle of it. Get ready, because you're walking into answered prayers, open doors, divine connections, and breakthroughs. Have your name on them. Not because you were perfect, not because you had it all together, but because you trusted God through the tears. Because you kept your heart soft when life tried to harden it. Because you stayed faithful when you didn't feel strong. God saw every moment. He saw the tears you hid from others. He saw the nights you laid awake. He saw the days you showed up even when you had nothing left to give. And now He's saying, your season of weeping is giving way to a season of reaping. The ground you thought was barren is about to burst with life. The places where you only saw pain will soon overflow with blessing. What you cried over, God will crown with glory. What broke you is about to bless you. What hurt you is about to help you. Your tears were not wasted. They were investments into a future only God could design. And now get ready, because the harvest you watered with your tears is finally, beautifully, powerfully coming forth. There are seasons when it feels like the enemy has been given too much access, too much room, too much influence over your circumstances. You wonder why the battles were so intense, why the attacks came from every angle, why the pressure seemed relentless. You look back at moments where you felt stretched, shaken, and pushed beyond what seemed reasonable, and you ask yourself, why did God allow this? Why didn't He stop it sooner? But here's the truth. God allowed the enemy to test you not because He wanted to see if you would break. He allowed it because He already knew you would rise. He knew what He put inside you. He knew the strength you didn't even know you carried. He knew that what looked like a breaking point would turn into a birthing point. He trusted you with battles because He trusted your victory. When the enemy came against you, heaven was not panicking. Heaven was not wondering how you would survive. Heaven was watching with confidence because God already saw the outcome. He didn't allow the attack to expose your weakness. He allowed it to reveal your strength. The enemy thought he was destroying you, but God was using it to develop you. The enemy thought he was derailing your purpose, but God was using it to deepen your dependence on Him. The enemy thought you would crumble under the pressure, but God saw you standing, still believing, still praying, still holding on, even when everything around you felt like it was falling apart. You didn't rise because you were the strongest. You rose because God was inside you. You rose because the same power that raised Jesus from the dead was breathing in your spirit. The enemy underestimated what God placed in you. He underestimated your resilience, your faith, your endurance. He thought a storm would shake you, but you learned how to praise in the rain. He thought loss would silence you, but you learned how to worship with a broken heart. He thought betrayal would break you, but you learned how to forgive and move forward. Every attack only revealed more of who you really are, a child of God with victory written into your identity. There were moments when you felt like you were fighting alone, but you were never alone. God was watching every step, guiding every decision, strengthening you in every dark valley. He allowed the test because He trusted the testimony that would come from it. He allowed the trial because He trusted the triumph He placed inside you. He allowed the battle because He knew you wouldn't just endure it, you would rise from it renewed, wiser, stronger, and more anointed than before. The enemy came after you because you were a threat. He saw the calling on your life before you fully understood it. He saw the anointing you carried before you grew into it. He saw the doors God planned to open for you, and he tried to stop you before you reached them. But what the enemy didn't understand is this: you were built for this. God wired you for endurance. God prepared you for opposition. God trained your hands for battle long before the enemy formed a weapon. So when the attacks came, they didn't destroy you. They refined you. They sharpened you. They pushed you closer to God. They made you dangerous in the Spirit. Every time the enemy hit you, God used it to lift you. Every time you faced a setback, God used it to set you up. Every time the enemy tried to discourage you, God used it to deepen your faith. That's why you're still standing today, not because you avoided battles, but because you overcame them. Not because life was easy, but because God was faithful. You rose out of things that were meant to bury you. You rose out of situations that should have broken you. You rose out of moments where others expected you to fall apart. You rose because rising is in your spiritual DNA. Think about the people who walked away from what you went through. Think about the ones who folded under similar pressure. Think about the ones who gave up the moment the fire got hot. Yet here you are, still believing, still fighting, still trusting God. That is not by accident. That is divine proof that God knew what He was doing when He allowed the test. He saw the warrior inside you. He saw the champion in you. He saw what the enemy could not, that you would not only survive the attack, you would come out of it with glory on you, with authority, with wisdom, with a deeper relationship with God, and with a testimony that will encourage others. You didn't just rise, you're rising still. God is still lifting you. He is still positioning you. He is still using every test to elevate you into new territory. The enemy thought he could stop you, but instead he helped shape the version of you that is now unstoppable. The fire he used to harm you, God used to purify you. The pressure he used to break you, God used to build you. The lies he used to confuse you, God used to clarify your purpose. Nothing the enemy did was wasted. Not a battle, not a tear, not a moment of pain. God turned every weapon into a tool for your growth. And now, because you rose when the enemy expected you to fall, heaven is opening doors the enemy cannot close. Blessings are being released that the enemy cannot block. Favor is coming that the enemy cannot touch. You passed the test not because you were perfect, but because you stayed connected to the one who is. God allowed the enemy to come against you because He already saw you rising above it all. And this is only the beginning. The same God who helped you stand in the storm is now preparing to lift you into a season where your battles turn into breakthroughs and your tests turn into triumphs. You rose then, and you will rise again, higher, stronger, and more victorious than ever. There are certain seasons in life when endurance becomes your only companion. You keep showing up even when you're tired. You keep believing even when you don't see anything changing. You keep praying even when heaven feels silent. You press forward even when every part of you wants to rest, to pause, to give up, and you don't realize it in the moment, but every step, you taking endurance is shaping you, stretching you, preparing you for something far greater than the season you're currently in. Your endurance is not just survival, it is evidence, it is proof. It is heaven's signal that you are ready for a new level of favor. Favor is not given lightly. Favor is not poured out randomly. Favor is entrusted to those who have shown they can carry it with humility, with wisdom, with strength. And the way God tests if you're ready for that next level is through endurance, not through comfort, not through ease, but through seasons that require persistence, faithfulness, and steadfastness. You may look at the challenges you faced and think they were setbacks or obstacles, but in reality, they were qualifications. Every hardship became a spiritual test you passed simply by not giving up. That's why you're still standing. That's why you're still moving forward. That's why favor is coming your way, because endurance proved your readiness. Think about all the moments life tried to break you, yet you kept going. The nights you cried, but still woke up with hope. The days you felt overwhelmed, but still pushed forward. The times you were disappointed, but still kept your heart open to God's promises. Endurance isn't just about holding on. It's about holding on with the right attitude. And you did. You didn't become bitter. You didn't shut down your spirit. You didn't let pain harden your heart. Instead, something inside you remained soft enough to believe and strong enough to endure. That is the kind of endurance heaven rewards. You didn't know it at the time, but your endurance was building spiritual muscle. It was building character. It was building resilience. It was building trust in God. You learned how to stay steady in storms. You learned how to keep your joy when circumstances tried to steal it. You learned how to wait without complaining. and how to walk with God even when you didn't understand where He was leading you. And now all of that endurance is about to pay off. A new level of favor requires a new level of responsibility. It requires a heart prepared to handle blessing without letting it become a burden. It requires maturity, discipline, and spiritual strength. And you developed all of those things through endurance. God didn't let the season be easy because He was shaping you for something big. He allowed challenges to form the version of you that could stand under the weight of your calling. You see, favor doesn't come to the faint-hearted. It comes to the faithful-hearted. The enemy tried to wear you out because he saw what you couldn't see. He knew that if you made it through this season, your next season would carry favor he couldn't stop. He tried to drain your strength, hoping you'd quit before God opened the next door. But you endured. You pushed back against every lie, every delay, every disappointment, every silent season. You stood your ground when everything around you shook. And because you endured, heaven is now saying, you're ready for blessing that won't break you. Ready for opportunities that once intimidated you. Ready for relationships that match your growth. Ready for doors that require courage and spiritual maturity. Ready for responsibilities you couldn't have handled in your last season. Endurance has matured you. It's easy to praise God when life is smooth, but it takes real faith to praise Him in the fire. You have that faith. You proved it. You didn't walk away. You didn't let go of your hope. Even when you questioned God, you stayed with God. Even when you were tired, you didn't quit on your purpose. Even when you were unsure, you kept putting one foot in front of the other. That is why favor is coming. Not small favor, not temporary favor, but the kin. D of favor that changes seasons, elevates callings, and breaks generational patterns. You endured the test and now you're ready for the blessing. Watch how God begins opening doors that were once locked. Watch how He connects you with people who recognize your value. Watch how opportunities start finding you without you having to chase them. Watch how situations turn in your favor suddenly, unexpectedly, effortlessly. This is what happens when endurance has done its work. Blessing begins to flow without obstruction. Your endurance was not wasted. It was your preparation. It was your qualification. It was heaven's way of showing you and your enemies that you are unshakable, unstoppable, and undeniably favored. Get ready. A new level of favor is on its way, and you are fully prepared to walk in it. There are seasons in life when it feels like everything is falling apart. You face disappointments, heartbreaks, betrayals, and challenges that seem too heavy to carry. You've walked through storms that left you questioning your strength, your faith, and even your purpose. You've stared into nights filled with tears and wondered if God had forgotten you. You may have felt broken, defeated, and exhausted, but here is the truth. Heaven has already declared that the next season will be greater than what broke you. Every trial, every setback, every moment of pain has been preparing you for a breakthrough, a restoration, and a favor that far exceeds the hardships you endured. God does not allow storms in your life to stay forever. He permits them for a season to refine you, to teach you, to strengthen your faith, and to build endurance in your spirit. And while you were in the midst of your trials, it may have felt like life was closing in on you, like there was no way out. But heaven saw differently. Heaven saw the end from the beginning. Heaven knew that your next season was designed to outshine the season that tried to defeat you. What the enemy intended for harm, God has already designed for your good. You may have been broken by circumstances, by betrayal, or by the weight of life, but every broken piece was being used to build something stronger in you. God allowed the pain because He knew it would prepare you to receive a greater level of blessing. You've been stretched, refined, and strengthened. Your character has been tested, your faith has been stretched, and your spirit has been developed. All of these things were necessary to carry the favor, opportunities, and breakthroughs that are now ready to enter your life. When you look back at the seasons that broke you, you may see failure, disappointment, or loss. But heaven sees something different. Heaven sees preparation. Heaven sees a warrior being formed. Heaven sees a vessel being filled with wisdom, endurance, and strength. Heaven sees someone who is ready to rise higher than ever before. The trials were not the end of your story. They were the chapters that led you to the beginning of your greatest season. The next season will not just be a recovery from the past, it will be an elevation above it. It will surpass every pain, every tear, and every moment of struggle. The enemy tried to trap you in those broken seasons, but God is about to open doors that will elevate you beyond what you thought possible. What once seemed like an ending is now becoming a launching pad. What once broke you is now the foundation for your breakthrough. Every setback, every disappointment, every betrayal has been transformed into a stepping stone toward your destiny. Sometimes it's hard to understand why certain things happened. Sometimes it feels like the weight of the past will hold you down forever. But heaven's declaration doesn't rely on what you feel or what you see. It relies on what God says, and God has already spoken over your life. He's already announced that your next season will be greater than the one that tried to defeat you. His promise does not depend on your circumstances. It depends on His power. It depends on His faithfulness. It depends on His perfect timing. You are about to experience a season where favor finds you without you having to chase it. You are about to step into a time where doors open with ease, where opportunities align, and where blessings come faster than you can imagine. You are about to walk into a place where your hard work, your endurance, and your faithfulness are recognized and rewarded. The pain you endured was temporary, but the glory you are stepping into is eternal. Heaven is declaring that your story is not defined by what broke you. It is defined by what God is building in you and for you. The beauty of this declaration is that it is not based on luck or coincidence. It is based on God's sovereign plan. God has been working behind the scenes, even when you couldn't see it. He has been orchestrating connections, opportunities, and resources that will come together to elevate you. He has been aligning your steps, protecting you from the enemy's attacks, and preparing the ground for your breakthrough. Heaven's declaration is not wishful thinking. It is a promise backed by power, authority, and divine timing. You will find that the next season brings joy in places where you once experienced sorrow. It brings favor in areas where you once faced rejection. It brings restoration in spaces where loss and pain once resided. And it brings growth and expansion far beyond what your previous circumstances could contain. The enemy may have celebrated in your brokenness, but God is about to turn the tables. The tears, the disappointments, and the struggles were not wasted. They were preparing you for the greatness that is now approaching.